Well, it's great to have you on the show today. I'm joined by Evan Cruz, one of our top agents with the company, and he and I are going to be taking your questions. And also want to make sure you know that we're going to be discussing the 3 things that you must do at 65. And we're going to get into some of the details about some real important decisions at 65. So we'll spend a good deal of our time talking about that. And then also, if you'd like to call in today's show, we would love to hear from you. Maybe an experience that you've had recently, maybe a question you have about Medicare, about Social Security, or any kind of a story you just want to share with us. That's what this program is all about, helping people to understand Medicare, to make great Medicare decisions so that when you go on Medicare, whenever that is, whether it's in 2 months or 2 years or whenever, that you will have the confidence knowing that you've made great decisions. All right, so I want to give you a couple numbers just real quickly, and then we're going to get into our teaching time. But first off, if you want to be a part of today's program, you need to call area code, toll free, 833-824-2004. Again, 833-824-2004. And then by chance, if you need to talk to one of our agents, we have agents that are available right now to actually help you with anything you want. That number is 800-782-6676. 800-782-6676. All right, so let's discuss, Evan, these 3 things that people must do at 65, and we'll kind of go back and forth in dialogue. But kind of the outline that we're going to follow today is, number 1, everyone is going to have to make some type of decision about Medicare. Now, I didn't say everyone has to go on Medicare because we know that's not the case, but everyone does have to make some kind of decision, number 1. Number 2, I think it's important for those that do decide that they are going to have to go on Medicare to make sure they understand the difference between Advantage plans and supplemental plans, because obviously it's going to really boil down to that decision. And then number 3, for those that are contemplating maybe going on Social Security at the same time, we need to discuss full retirement age and the implications of the earnings test and all those kind of things. Okay, so let's start first off by just talking about the fact that everyone has to make a decision about Medicare at 65. So I'll let you begin the conversation and we'll take it from there.
Absolutely, yeah. So of course, everyone has to realize that you're different situation than everyone else. No one is the same when it comes to what they need. Your health's different. Your finances are different. The state you live in makes a really big difference overall. Absolutely no one size fits all when it comes to choosing these plans, which is why when we talk about these plans to everybody, we don't bash on this or that as being bad. There are no good or bad plans when it comes to insurance. Everyone's needs are different and they're designed for specific people in specific situations. And so it comes down to what's important to you and what you can afford when you're choosing these things. And that's the questions we would generally ask. We'd go through what your situation's like, how long you've been working, kind of how much you're going to be expecting to make month to month, because we don't want to put you in the best insurance plan you can possibly have and never worry about a thing, but can't afford to keep your lights on. There's the balance to all of these things, and finding that individual balance is really what's most important when choosing these plans and discussing what's going to make the most sense for each situation. Granted, some things and some state laws in some areas can allow certain changes as time goes on. Your situation, of course, can change as time goes on. So because we generally try to make a decision based on what fits you now and potentially what may fit for the rest of your life, as sometimes changes can be difficult, but note that changes can be made as time goes on because the whole system changes all the time. You know, what Medicare was 10 years ago and what it's going to be 10 years from now, no one can predict the future of what that is. So we have to make the best decisions we can based on what we know and what your situation is. And so that's an important question, I think, when going through this and turning 65, is determining what is important to you and what you can afford. And that's a great place to start.
Yeah. Well, let's begin by also talking about those people that really have to go on Medicare at 65, meaning if they don't, they've made a mistake. And we know there's different scenarios on that. Of course, the first one would be if no one's working. If the spouse or you're not working any longer, you don't have a decision but to go on Medicare. They have to. But explain the others when it comes to TRICARE, COBRA, small employer plans.
Yeah. So there are a few exceptions to having to go on Medicare at 65, and those are going to be situations where you're covered under employees coverage, that your employer, I should say, is covering you or your spouse, and overall you have at least 20 employees in the company. It's considered creditable coverage by the federal government, and they're going to continue to let you do that as long as you want. They don't get in the way of people who are choosing to work, so work till you're 100 if you want to. Is what I normally tell people. Please don't work that long if you absolutely love your job. Your life's got to start eventually. I've had many people I've talked to who are in their late 80s, and they're still working. And it's only because every time they try to leave, their employer offers them more money. And that's fine to a degree, and as long as you, like I said, you love what you do, but your life's got to start eventually. And this is that hard decision of when to cut that off and when to make that move. But like I said, Medicare doesn't force you to do that. If you decide you like your coverage, you're going to keep doing what you're doing, work as long as you want, especially if you got family members to take care of, you got children who are not able to get covered yet, you got a spouse you got to take care of. It's a great option sometimes to stay on employer coverage. I did a 2-part video series on this on our channel about when to choose employer versus Medicare, and I still use that and send that to people because I think it's a really good metric to choosing when it's going to make the most sense. But that's a big one, is employer.
Yeah, well, so 20 employees or more, don't have to go on Medicare, don't have to take Medicare A or B. You and I know that a lot of people hear that they have to take A. Even if they keep working, they have to take A. Address that because we know that's not true.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, the only time I tell people to take A is if you want to get it knocked out and you're not contributing to a health savings account, an HSA. FSAs are fine, but an HSA is a government subsidy. They don't let you have two at the same time. You can't have A and the HSA also. Otherwise, they're gonna cancel your HSA. You won't be able to continue to contribute. So if you want to continue contributing to that, definitely don't do a thing until you're ready to do that later on down the road. There's a timeline of when to stop the HSA payments, about 6 months before you're planning on applying for Medicare, not starting Medicare, but when you're planning on applying for it because of the 6-month start date. It's going to kick back your Part A 6 months from when you apply. So that's if you want to avoid overlap and avoid the small tax penalty that you have, that's a good time to do that. But otherwise, yeah, you wouldn't have to do either one. I do have a lot of people who say, though, I'm not contributing to an HSA. I do have an FSA or I don't have anything, but I just feel more comfortable doing A. Great. Nothing wrong with that. Get your Medicare number out of the way. It's one less step to do down the road and have that all done. It's just going to sit there more or less in the background. I tell people it's not really going to do a whole lot. Your employer coverage is first payer. That's kind of the main thing. It's going to have the hospitalization in the background there. But once again, it's a pretty big deductible before it does anything. And usually employer is kind of the main part of that.
Yeah, well, in the second payer position, Medicare A is only going to pay co-insurance anyways.
Right.
No deductibles, no co-pays, but it is there. So I think you're right. So those of you listening today that have an HSA, we wouldn't encourage you to take A only. You will not be penalized as long as Part A is free. It's always going to be free. We don't worry about that. But if you don't have an HSA, I think it's wise to do so. Why not? As you said, get in the system, but also it's setting over in that second payer position. And most people have co-insurance today on on the hospitalization. So that Part A could pay. And it could pay substantially, on a co-insurance type of a claim. So that's good.
Yeah.
So when people, I want to clarify something that you said, which is accurate, but when it comes to those of you that do have HSAs, you can contribute to your HSA all the way up until your 65th birth month for sure. No problem.
Right.
But meaning if you're going to go on Medicare at 65, the month before, you don't have to worry about that 6 months prior. But what Evan was saying is that in the future, let's say you work until age 67 and you apply for Medicare a couple months beforehand, then they are going to backdate that age date 6 months. And that's when you'd have to stop. So at 65, contribute all the way up to prior to the birth month, you'll have no problems. But we just hear a lot of people who think that they have to take A and you don't have to take A for sure. Okay, let's talk about comparing. There are people that are going to keep working but have mediocre, maybe even a lousy group plan. Let's talk about the implications of that, how people decide would Medicare make sense while they're still working and would it may not.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. So yeah, there's not just the premiums. I mean, that's usually the number one thing people look at. Well, how much am I spending on my employer? I'm only spending $180 a month. Medicare is going to cost me $280 a month for the one I want. That's a $100 difference. Well, that means a lot to me. Well, on the surface level, you might think, well, that's as long as you're going to stay healthy and you're never going to use it. Yeah, it's a great idea. Save money. But immediately once you start to look at the cost of using it, the cost in the background of what if I had to go to the doctors and hospitals? How much is this going to cost me? Well, average employer are going to be $2,000-$3,000 deductible. You have a $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, $13,000 max out of pocket if you have to use it a lot. Whereas Medicare, if you're on a supplemental plan, like a supplemental plan G, and the only thing it's not paid for is the Part B deductible, $283 a year, which is better to pay, $283 a year or $8,000 a year? Right. Obviously, Medicare is going to win if that's the case. And I usually tell people if you're within about $100, Medicare wins because the cost of using it is so much less. But if it's significantly more, $300 a month, and it's not too bad, maybe a $500 deductible, maybe a $3,500 max and you're super healthy and never go to the doctor and I'm only going to work a couple more years here and I'll switch over then, by all means, keep the employer.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's going to cover you pretty well. But but looking at just the surface of the cost is part of it. You got to make sure if something happens, you're not putting yourself in a really hard situation. Because especially at that age, if that did occur and now you've got that $8,000 bill, something seriously just happened to you. So your likelihood of going back to work also probably evaporated as well. So the money now you're going to have you pay for that bill, but you have no more income coming in. So once again, you put yourself in a rough spot. So sometimes choosing to go on to Medicare at 65, even though you're going to continue to work, makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. Right. If it's going to be cost effective in both ways, and that's where you got to weigh that balance.
Exactly right. That's good. Good. And just as a reminder, when people do make the decision to go on Medicare at 65 while they're still working, we would never encourage them to make that decision if a family member is going to be adversely affected. If your spouse is on the group plan and that's their only insurance option other than ACA, or your children covered up to age 26 are on the plan and they don't have other insurance options. And sometimes people have to stay on mediocre plans just for the sake of their family. True. And we would encourage them to do that. Absolutely. But if no one's going to be impacted and you have a group plan that's not very attractive. I had someone not long ago that actually worked large employer, more than 20 employees, didn't have to do anything with A and B, but we found out his premium, Evan, was $600 a month by himself. Wow. He was single. Worked for a large car dealership that had a lousy plan. $600 a month premium, had a $5,000 deductible max out of pocket combined. So he spent $600 a month, and before the insurance ever kicked in, he had to spend $5,000 out of pocket. And so Medicare was, tremendously better than that option. So,
I mean, that's you look forward to Medicare in that situation.
Exactly right.
And people who've looked into it a little bit and they know somewhat about it and they realize how much they're paying, cannot wait to get onto Medicare at that point. And that's the attitude you should have. I mean, you've paid that Medicare to your paycheck your whole life. You've seen Social Security, Medicare, federal, state, all coming out of your check, and this is your first opportunity to take it for a super low cost and low cost of using it with open access and insurance companies not telling you what to do. Absolutely jump on that. What an opportunity.
Exactly right. Yeah. All right. So really that's decision number one, deciding what are you going to do about Medicare? So some people have to go on Medicare. And those of you that right now you're approaching 65, I want to remind you that if you're on COBRA, if you're on TRICARE, or you're on a small employer plan, 19 or fewer people on the payroll, you have to go on Medicare and ACA plans. The subsidies are going away. So those groups have to go on, but some of you do not have to. Great group plans. We'd encourage you, stay on the group plan. You can come in at a later date, lousy group plans, make the comparison, come off if indeed that's going to work. So that's decision number one. Let's talk about decision number two. And that has to do with really making sure people that are going on Medicare, whether that's at 65 or that's at 67 or 72, it all really boils down to, are they going to be covered and use their Medicare through a supplemental plan or through an Advantage plan? And as you said earlier, we're not here to beat up on anything, but I think we do owe it to people to make sure they do understand the differences. For sure. And so let's discuss those. Let's just take them one by one. Let's talk about just the whole network issue right now.
Absolutely. So yeah, when you're going on to Medicare and you have those options between the two, it's not just price. I mean, that's a big thing that people look at first, is how much am I spending month to month on this one to maintain this one versus that one? And we're looking at their budget. And obviously that's the paramount. We want to look at that first. But then the other part of it too is, what are you paying for? Or the price that you get on an Advantage plan is not just the $0. There is an additional cost that you really do have to pay. And that is giving up your ability to do whatever it is that you want to do without an insurance company asking you twice what you want. And that's really what the Advantage is. I tell people the price you pay is you give up the open access. Now you have to, everything has to be run through them. Everything your doctor does has to be run through them. They cannot just make a decision between you and your doctor. And any facilities, such as the Mayo Clinic, said, we don't want to deal. We're trying to practice medicine. We're trying to save lives. We're trying to use cutting edge things. And the insurance companies have put roadblock after roadblock after roadblock all along the way. And we're tired of that. So we're not taking that anymore. And so if you want access to one of those places that are cutting edge medicine places, you're going to see a lot of them just don't take advantage at all. And so if you want access to those places in the future, then you want to make that decision while you can, while you're healthy at the beginning, to choosing a plan that's going to give you access to those. Because when people try to make that change later on, it's usually because something went wrong.
That's right.
And by then it's too late.
Yeah. And that's what everyone has to realize. To get off an Advantage plan after you've been on one for a year, sometimes less, you have to medically qualify to make that move. And doesn't mean to say you have bad insurance, because I don't think you have bad insurance, but you do have some restrictions that you're going to find out about if you have a serious illness. So my view has always been that Advantage plans are great for routine, very simple type of situations. But once we get into some complex issues, some serious cancer, some heart issues, people are going to begin to realize this is how it's going to work. You can't just pick your own doctor. The insurance company has already done that.
Right.
And the whole issue of pre-authorizations, permission to get a certain thing. I don't know if you heard this story, Evan, you maybe have, but I was speaking at a live event not long ago, and there was a lady that I always have a Q&A time at the end, and she said, "Hey, can I just share a comment?" And there was a large group of people there, and she worked for a surgeon. He was a cardiologist, but just did surgical procedures for the heart. And she said that when people are on Advantage plans, the Advantage plan will not approve the doctor to go in right before surgery, and I think it's to do an MRI or a CAT scan, some kind of a scan, so that the doctor feels really ready to make the operation. Advantage plans will not approve that. In original Medicare with the supplemental plan, every single time. And that's kind of getting in the weeds, but it's true. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
If I'm going in to have some kind of heart procedure and my doctor can't go in, kind of right prior to that and do that scan that he or she wants to do, because the insurance company will not allow that.
Time is of the essence.
Yeah,
and those
exactly
things, absolutely. Right. Yeah, every second wasted waiting on insurance or whatever is not something that you need to be dealing with for your heart, for your life, and then every second counts. Yeah,
and exactly right. And listen, I want you all to know that we're not trying to beat up on Advantage plans, but again, I think you have to realize how is your insurance going to work, and one day you're going to find that out. In fact, what's interesting is so many people, as they talk about their Advantage plan, it's, hey, I get to go to the gym for free, or I get my hearing aids, or all these kind of things. That is true, and those are legitimate benefits. I like all those benefits, but you also have to say, how can I go to the docs I want? Can I get my procedures I want? Who has the final say so? So I think we have to weigh both of those things in.
Well, and the truth is, nothing's free.
Yeah.
I mean, why are they giving that to you?
Yeah.
There's a reason that those things are offered in there. I mean, it's because they're making enough money on the back end from the government and subsidies that they can give stuff away to get your attention. And so it's not because they like you.
Right. Yeah, they're not benevolent.
They're absolutely. But I tell people that too. There's because they'll say, oh, well, what's the best one in this area? I'm like, listen, there are no good or bad plans at all. There's no good or bad insurance companies either. They're all out for themselves. They say, truthfully, they don't care about you or me. I mean, they care about themselves in the end, but they'll do their part, what they have to do, what they're legally obligated to do in certain situations. But sometimes it's not going to be what you want. Yeah.
Let's finish up real quickly on our last topic, and that was understanding for retirement age. Of course, most people we're dealing with today were born from 1960 thereafter. They have a full retirement age of 67. So this simply means that if we wait to take our Social Security benefits at 67, we're not going to take any kind of reduction in our Social Security benefit. Basically what happens, so everyone knows, when you take early before your full retirement age, you lose 0.5% a month, which is 6% a year. So if we take 1 year early, we lost 6% of the benefit, 2 years early, 12%, all the way down to 62. The other situation is if I'm going to take Social Security and I'm still working, I can only make so much money. And right now that number is $24,480. That's all you can make. So if we make above that earnings limit, and remember, this is only money that your wages. This has nothing to do with annuity income, pension income, retirement income, investment income, rental income. So nothing other than wages. And so they're going to count your wages. And so that number this year, again, $24,480. So if I make above that, for every $2 I make above it, they penalize me $1. And so we encourage people, if you're making good money, and it takes Social Security, you may not get a check until July or maybe until October. Why do it? Now, I just want to clarify something, and that's this. The year that you turn full retirement age, that earnings test amount goes up a lot. So let's say someone's full retirement age is in July. From January to June, they can actually make $65,160. We call that the high earnings test amount. And again, it's the amount that is available to you for wages the year that you turn full retirement age. It's a lot more. The penalty's less, a lot more money. But once we hit that full retirement age, the earnings test goes away. I can make $1 million a year and it has no impact on my Social Security whatsoever. All right. So the point is, as you approach 65, you're going to have to decide, is it really time to take Social Security or not? If you're still working, it may not be, because you may be above the earnings limit. And also, if you don't need the money. You may want to wait to full retirement age because, again, you're going to get that 6% reduction each year. All right. So, again, all of our agents understand everything I just shared with you. Happy to have a discussion about not just Medicare, but also about Social Security.
And say somebody get close to that limit and they take some of my money away. Is it gone? Did I lose it forever?
Not forever. It's going to get back, but it's not going to be lump sum. It's going to come back prorated. Yeah. They will recalculate your full retirement age benefit. You will get it back, but not lump sum.
Slow trickle.
Exactly. It's a good way to say it, slow trickle. Mm-hmm. If you want to be on today's show, let me give you the number one more time. It is 833-824-2004. We'd love to hear from you. And any question about Medicare or Social Security that you have, anything on your heart, we'd love to discuss that with you today. All right, so let's get to our caller. Is this Lawrence from Florida?
It is. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing very good. Good to hear you. Thanks for calling in today. What kind of question do you have for us?
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say thank you. And I have been following you for the last several years and, find you very, very knowledgeable on the Medicare topic. So I've kind of hung in there with you, and I'm working with one of your representatives now for not Social Security, because I still own a business, but a Medicare onboarding in June when I turn 65.
Okay, very good. All right.
Yeah. So question, even though I've been doing a ton of research, I know I'm going to do obviously the A, the B, I'll do the drug plan, eye care. I'll do the entire turnkey package, including a supplemental G plan. But a couple of the questions I have, I am coming into this as a more of a high income earner. So I know I'm going to be subject to IRMA. And probably my guess is, looking back to 2024 and even beyond 2024, probably at the highest level. Something I was not familiar with until just 2 days ago, and I've done lots of research, and I don't know how this has not come up, but I didn't know that in addition to a G plan, there was also a high deductible G plan. Mm-hmm. And, as a little bit of background, I am very healthy, don't have any issues. And I know, if you're spending about, give or take, $250 a month, now that's not with IRMA, but the $250 a month baseline for a Plan G, the high deductible Plan G appears to be more like $65 a month. And so, for somebody who's healthy, and may have, assets to be able to cover the high deductible on an annual basis for the out of pocket, it appears that the annual savings, without IRMA, factored in, being on a high deductible, the annual savings is somewhere a little north of $2,000 a year. So, your potential additional risk is a little over $700 by the time you pay the $2,950 out of pocket for the high deductible. So I guess I'm looking to learn a little bit more about the high deductible plan and whether that might be a good option to go with for somebody who is healthy. What carriers, I guess. I think with the gentleman I'm speaking with from your organization, I think we've been talking about United Healthcare, but I haven't heard anything mentioned about a high deductible G. Sure. So just curious, I'll stop there and kind of let you take over from here.
Sure. Let me just give you a quick opinion. I'm going to let Evan elaborate on that as well. I just want to say, first off, we do not write a lot of high deductible G plans. We do write some for sure. The only thing with high Gs is that if you decide down the road you want to get off of it, Lawrence, you will have to medically qualify to do that. A lot of people think because they have a high G, they can immediately go to a G just at will when their health changes. So you're high income, you could afford the deductible. I would not discourage you from going that direction if you wanted to. But the main point for me is just, to get off of it down the road, you would have to medically qualify, and usually people want to get off it when they have a health problem, and that's too late. But Evan is one of our top agents on the floor. So Evan, please just share with Lawrence kind of your opinion about that.
Absolutely. So when people ask about that question and they're deciding what plan is going to make the most sense for them, what matters most to me isn't what plan you choose. It doesn't matter if it's a G, a high deductible G, an N, an Advantage plan. What's most important, because everyone's needs are different and what's important to you is different, is that you're on a plan that you're not afraid to use. It doesn't matter what's the point of insurance, right? If you're afraid of using it, it's pointless. And that's what a lot of people do live with their whole life. They're afraid of a huge deductible. They're afraid of a max, or what if I call this ambulance, or I'm in the hospital for a month, and what would all that cost me? Now, you're in a situation, obviously, that's a little bit different. You have a lot more finances. You can cover some of that stuff. But once again, this isn't static. The Plan G, high deductible, hasn't been the same almost $3,000 that it is now. It was actually quite a bit less only just a few years ago, and it's going to continue to go up as time goes on too. So once again, as Marvin said there, when you want to change in the future, you may not have that opportunity to do so. But here's the thing about high G specifically that I don't like, and I'm going to say I really don't like even talking about them, and mostly because, like I said, I don't want people to be afraid to use their insurance, and I don't want someone to hesitate even for a second. Because even if you say I can afford it, the situation comes up where you're in a situation where you go, it's a odd kind of pain I got in my arm. Not really sure what that is. And maybe in the back of your mind, you go, could be a heart attack, could be nothing, could be heartburn. But we're all human, we're all adverse to risk. And the first thought in your mind is, gosh, I haven't hit that $3,000 deductible yet. If I call an ambulance and I go to the hospital, I don't want to spend $3,000 on all that stuff. But whereas if you're on a regular G or even a Plan N, N's are really good options too. You're never,
especially in Florida.
Yeah, especially in Florida. I do like talking about N's in Florida. You never hesitate to call an ambulance. Do what you got to do. I don't care. It's what my insurance is for. And that's the kind of attitude you should be having, especially as you're getting into older age and things may start going wrong that you're not familiar with, as your body's changing and everything. Never hesitating to use your insurance is the number one reason why you should have it to begin with. And that's why I prefer even Plan N's over high deductible G's in just about every situation. I mean, I'll get maybe 1 in 400 people where in high G might make sense, maybe, if even that often, but not even then.
And Lawrence's situation is unique because he does have assets, you can cover those. In fact, you probably have enough money to cover that high G for many years. Mm-hmm. So don't feel like we'd say don't do it. Right. We're not saying that. But
no.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, it's the fear of insurance, a fear of using it, and the adverse nature of risk that we're all people, we're all humans, we all feel the same thing regardless of how many resources you have. You're going to think in the back of your mind, and that hesitation, that's what I want to avoid. And that's what you get out of a Plan N or a Plan G.
I get it. And I've been in a high deductible plan my entire 35-year career before I just retired.
Sure.
So I'm not afraid of it, but I understand your point. But I guess I'll ask one more question.
Sure.
And I have looked at the N. I'm leaning toward just a regular G. But I have looked at the N, and the G seemed to be superior to the N. Why are you saying that you like the N, especially in Florida?
Sure. So like I said, every state's a little bit different on pricing. I usually tell people if you're $20 or $30 between a G or an N, it's just less exposure going to a G. You don't deal with the copays or potential excess charges. If you're in a state where it's $50, $60, $70 a month difference, you're pretty healthy, don't go to the doctor all that often. Over a long run, you can save a lot of money with an N plan. I mean, the only time you're looking at maybe getting behind is if in the future you got to start seeing 6 doctors 8 times a month for a whole bunch of maladies that are happening. Those copays would start to add up a lot, but that's obviously a crazy situation to run into that many doctors that often. But in the meantime, if you're saving, $60, $70 a month, that's 3-4 times every single month you'd have to go to a doctor. And they don't always charge that $20 copay each time. It's usually just on new visits, like a follow-up ALC in 2 weeks. A lot of times they don't charge that. They can.
Sure.
But not always. So like I said, that's a worst case scenario as far as the copays go. And once again, that physician's excess charge is about 1% of medical doctors, 2%, but most of the 40% in the mental health field. So 1% of medical doctors can add that 15% excess charge to your bill. But you can always look ahead on Medicare.gov that tells you right there if they charge excess. You can avoid that doctor if necessary. But it's the nation's most elite neurosurgeon who knows their time is worth more than Medicare is going to pay them. They're going to put in that excess, and it's probably not a doctor you will very unlikely run into in the
Let me add something here, Evan.
Yeah.
Lawrence, I'm in the same financial situation you are, just so you know. I'm on Medicare. I have high IRMAs as well. So here's the bottom line, Evan. I'm looking at a guy here, so he saves $50 or $60 a month. Probably is not going to matter.
True.
Okay, I have a G. I started in January. I'm glad I have a G. I did it because I can afford it. I did it because I don't want to ever have to worry about excess. I just don't want any issues, nor do I want copays. Mm-hmm. And I know copays can occur. So I think the reason that we would primarily tell people to look at N as a serious option is because sometimes that is going to matter. that $60 or $70 is going to matter.
Right.
For Lawrence, it may be a little bit less his kids get inheritance. Who cares? So the bottom line is you can afford the Cadillac, get the Cadillac. That's exactly what I did, and that's what I tell you to do as well. That just makes
my
sense
definition more of an average situation, I suppose. But yes, exactly right.
True.
You are a little more. You are you are a very good situation. You've set yourself up very nicely, and and I always say to people who have the highest IRMAs, congratulations, and keep doing what you're doing. I mean, paying more in your Medicare, but who cares? You're making more money. You did it right. You did so. Good job on that.
Right.
All right, Lawrence. Well, I hope that helps, sir. Anything else before we let you go?
No, you both helped a lot, and my parting question here is. Getting ready to take a trip with the family, our two older children, probably the last time we're going to be able to do this before they get married and have kids, to Europe next month.
Nice.
Just out of curiosity, I'm presuming that whether it's N, it's G, there is no coverage out of the U.S.?
Well, no, both N and G will give you, it's a $50,000 benefit that's called Foreign Travel Emergency Benefit. So look at it as a $50,000 bucket of money that's attached to your policy. It's never replenished. That's a lifetime benefit. So if you did have something happen out of the country, what would happen, the plan would, you have to pay the first $250, so $250 deductible, and the plan takes the balance of that bill and splits it with you 80-20. So you pay deductible $250, balance 80-20. Insurance company pays 80, you pay 20%. But their 80% stops at $50,000. Now they will not spend any more on you than that. So my experience has been that it's wise to get some type of travel health insurance. That's what I do. You can buy a policy, typically $100,000 in medical, that would also pay. So that's what I'd recommend. You know, you can, of course, some people get trip interruption with that. You don't have to. You can just do medical. We use a company. Let me just give you a number real quickly. We use a company. And by the way, the last time I used them, I was on hold forever. It's frustrating, but I still like them. They are brokers, and they do look at several different companies. Let me give it to you real quickly, and then we'll let you go. And then I've also used American Express. Their travel insurance. I went to Israel a few years back, and they had actually the best rate in Israel. This company is called Travel Insurance Center. Travel Insurance Center, and their number is 866-979-6753. 866-979-6753. They are brokers, so they'll look at a variety of different companies, but hopefully you won't be on hold forever. Last time I was a little frustrated with them, but I still used them. I just had to wait.
Right.
Okay. And then again, American Express has, they have a division for it. And that number, I'll give you it real quickly. It's 800-228-6855. 800-228-6855. Okay?
Yeah. And I work with American Express now, and I'm also looking at travel. So thank you.
Good.
Appreciate it, gentlemen.
Thanks, sir. Hey, Lawrence, appreciate the call. You take care.
Yep. You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Our next caller is Fred. He's calling in from Colorado.
Hello.
Hello there, Fred. Marvin Music here. How are you, sir?
Good. It's a pleasure to speak with you, sir.
Well, you as well. Hey, I've got Evan, one of our top agents, in studio with me today, and we understand that you're on an Advantage plan and would like to discuss the possibility of moving that to a supplemental plan. Is that correct?
Yes. I have, according to my research, and if you'd like to know my source, because I really don't have any help doing this. My agent, it's been MIA since she signed me up.
Yep.
But I was wondering, is it true that from when you start, and I started in February, was my birthday month.
Good.
That I have a year of like a grace period to where I can move over to the supplemental plan without any prerequisites, without any forms or tests or anything, because my problem is I need bifocals very bad. It's been so long since I've had any kind of health care, and it's been a long time since I've been able to see really right. I order reader's glasses, almost the strongest you can get, to see. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to get my bifocals and then, enjoy this food card, but, it's not that big of a difference. And then thinking about sliding over Is it true that I have this year? Is my question.
Okay, I'm going to let Evan answer that. Plus, Evan isn't really an expert in ophthalmology issues. But my one question before he takes over, let's find out, are you on state Medicaid?
Yeah, I have that as well, too, yes.
Okay, because that has definitely some bearing on Evan's answer to you. So, Evan, I'm going to let you take it, sir. You're very capable.
Absolutely. So, when you started Medicare, you turned 65 in February?
Yes.
And you started your Advantage plan the exact same month that everything started, the beginning of the month, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, technically, yes, you do have a 1-year trial right to wait full 12 months. As long as you don't make any changes in that 12-month period, you can go to a supplemental policy through what's called guaranteed issue, where the insurance companies give you a trial of 1 year. As long as you don't move around, they'll say, we'll take you. However, that forcing an insurance company to take you is usually not as good as giving them the option to do so. And the options they're going to give you as far as an open enrollment period without medical questions and without forcing them to take you when the government says you have to do this is 6 months. So you have through the end of July, through that open enrollment period for supplemental policies, to kind of make that switch over. Now, what's your monthly income roughly?
He's on Medicaid.
Yeah, on Medicaid. So, do you know the cost of a supplemental plan? Have you looked at those?
No, I haven't. I heard it's anywhere from $100 to $200 a month.
And then, are you paying for the Part B premium, the 2029, or is Medicaid paying that for you?
I'm not paying anything right now.
Nothing at all. Okay. So once again,
Nope.
Going to a supplemental policy is really going to add a significant amount to your monthly, what the income that you have is going to be changed quite a bit by going on to a supplemental plan. And I'm not saying don't do one.
Let me ask you this. Let me interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
Now, are you saying he could legally do that, even though Part B is being paid by Medicaid?
Probably not.
Okay.
Only because there's different levels of Medicaid. There's not like you have it or you don't. There's like 5 different levels depending on your level of income and assets. And then the lower your income and the lower your assets are, the more your assistance you get from the state. And if you have full cost share protection where they're paying for everything for you, which it sounds like they are in your situation, they're not going to like the fact that they're going to say, how are you affording this supplemental plan if you're not paying for everything else? And so that's kind of where you run into that problem of trying to get the system to pay for things when it's not necessarily supposed to. Now, the situation you're in. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I get SSI. SSI is on my only income, $975 a month.
$975, right. So you are in that window of space where they are definitely going to be taking care of you for all your needs. And so do you travel much outside of Colorado?
No.
Okay, and exactly even better for you there. So you're in a situation where while you are in the state of Colorado and you're getting treatment in the state of Colorado is going to take care of you for what you're doing. If you leave the state of Colorado and you try to get stuff done, like on your Advantage plan, if it's a PPO, you'll get some coverage out of network. HMOs, once again, you got to find places in network, but the difference that would normally be picked up by your Medicaid isn't going to work outside the state. But once again, not really an issue for you. You're not traveling much. You're staying in the state. So the Medicaid is going to continue to take care of you when it comes to what your needs are with the Advantage. So,
now, how about if he had an emergency room type visit out of state? He's in Kansas.
Are you in an HMO or PPO?
I don't know.
Emergency, I'm saying.
Emergency. Oh, emergency. Yeah. So emergency situations and we're on an Advantage plan are going to cover you even if you were out of network on your plan. They're going to cover you for the emergency portion of what's going on with you. If they're actively saving your life, let's say you're out of state, you're in a hospital, you're in the emergency room, they're performing CPR and giving you the injections and whatever they have to save your life, your plan is going to cover those things. But the moment they move you out of that into observation and that emergency situation is over, coverage comes to an end. And now it's going to be out of pocket situation.
Well, let me add this. If Fred is my brother, okay, and by the way, Fred, I am 1 month older than you. I was born in January of 61. So you and I are close. So if you were my brother, I would tell you, since you are getting state Medicaid, I would every year find the very best what we call dual eligible plan that's on the market. And you may be on that right now. I have no idea. But the point is, I just think the supplemental plan, if a company looks and sees that he's on full Medicaid, I don't think they're going to approve his application because they don't have to. Really, and you and I know it's can be in some states even illegal to sell someone a supplemental plan when they are on full Medicaid.
Right.
All right. So I can't speak for Colorado, but I'm saying to you, if you're my brother, I'd say stay right where you are as far as that system. I know that there are advantages to supplemental plans. I love them, but in your scenario, I just don't think it's going to be the best move for you financially.
Right.
And I've had people try to go ahead.
It would be a significant amount, out of my check, just to be on the supplemental plan. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Now let me ask you this, Evan. Of course, we're in April now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you're on, a dual eligible plan, do you have any kind of special enrollment that we could double check to make sure he's on the right plan, or are we outside that period?
So there are chronic special needs plans, CSNPs. Mm-hmm. Do you have any? Are you pretty healthy, or what's your situation there?
No, see, that was the issue also going into this. The food card, to get the food card, you have to have a chronic, ailment. Mm-hmm. And I've had surgery 5 years ago for diverticulitis. So technically, I am in a diverticulosis state to where I have to keep monitoring my condition. And so this is what I put in for. This is what I told them. I have. I had an operation for diverticulitis. I'm in diverticulosis state, which is chronic. I have to have a high fiber diet to avoid hospitalization. Well, the problem was diverticulosis wasn't on their list.
Right.
It's not.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be heart.
They have a list.
Yeah, heart disease. It's going to be kidney problems and diabetes. Are kind of the
right.
three.
Yeah. How about like if someone takes a couple high blood pressure medications? Is that serious enough for a CSNP?
In some cases, yeah.
What the doctor did was took because I've been smoking since I was 18, mm-hmm. and gave me I don't know, some kind of breathing test and told me I have early stages COPD. Mm-hmm. So we put in for that, got accepted, then my card hit.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I'll tell you, if your agent has gone MIA on you, if you want to later this year, call in. We'll not go MIA on you, I promise, and we can help you. But that's what I would do every single year. Make sure you're on the very best CSNP plan or dual SNP plan that's available. And do you by chance have our office number, Fred? Do you have it?
No, I don't. I'm calling in today from a text.
Okay, very good. Well, let's do this. Let me give it to you just so you'll have it for the future. And we'd be delighted to serve as your broker, help you make sure every year you're on the right plan. Okay, let me give you that number. It's 800-782-6676. So 800-782-6676, and we'd be delighted to serve you in any way. Okay? And Fred, we got go ahead.
And thank you for the number. And when you say call in every year, what time is that? What month is that? Should I call you?
I would say call in September for an October appointment, or you can go online and actually schedule an appointment, because those plans, we actually cannot do enrollments until after October the 15th, mm-hmm. right? And then there's other times, but that's really the best time, because I think in his situation, it sounds like he's already on a CSNP plan. You can only make one change a year on that. So, mm-hmm. yeah, your next opportunity to look to see if there's something better would be when the 2027 plans come out, and they will be out October the 15th. Okay.
Yeah. We'll call about early September.
Yeah, call in September, get on our calendar, and we'd be delighted. Yeah, we actually can't even discuss anything until after October 1st, but enrollments cannot occur until after the 15th of October. And you have all the way up through December 7th to make a decision. And we can help you. I promise you we can. Got tons of agents. Evan's one of them, the top ones, and we're happy to assist in any way. So if that's it for today, I'm going to let you go. We got one more caller on the line here. I was going to take this call before we finished our show. Okay?
Thank you.
Fred, hey, great to talk to you, sir.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, we have Greg calling in from Pennsylvania. Greg, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, sounds good. I understand that you had a question about Part D. Happy to address that, or anything else that you have on your mind. So how can we help, sir?
Yeah, right now I'm taking 0 medications. But looking down the road, if I would happen to be placed on a medication that's not in the formulary, mm-hmm. I heard you say that one time that it's possible I could call them, they would add it to my formulary.
Yes, Absolutely. Now, there actually has to be some paperwork filled out, but that's what you do. We call that a formulary exception. And by the way, just so you know, Greg, it's very common for that to happen. These drug plans are governed, of course, by the government. So they really will bend over backwards to make sure that you get the medication that you want. Now, I'm not saying that they will always add it to formulary, because they're not, but a good deal of the time they will. I just want to add something, then I'm going to get Evan's opinion about this. But what happens, though, kind of the negative side can be, let's say that you have a new disease and the doc prescribes a brand name medication that's very expensive. It is possible that in that formulary, they may have 4 or 5 or 6 other medications that also treat the same disease that are lower cost, meaning generic equivalent or generic alternative medications. So what sometimes does happen is, yes, that medication could be added, but again, if you have lower cost meds, you may have to try those first. We call that step therapy. But if there is nothing else, let's take Stelara right now for autoimmune diseases. Stelara is a very, very expensive medication. It's a prior authorization. If it's on a formulary, they almost always add it to someone's formulary. So they will cover expensive medications, but again, you sometimes have to try the lower cost ones. Okay, so what I share with you is accurate. And Evan, you just heard me yak about it. You add what you like to this.
Yeah, and it's really not as complex as it may seem as far as jumping through hoops and all that stuff. A lot of the times, this stuff happens in the background a lot of the time too. Like when you order the medication, your pharmacy is going to try to order it. Insurance company is going to say, hold up, I don't want to pay for that. So then they have to call your doctor. Your doctor verifies that, yes, he has to take this medication. No, there is no alternative. Yes, we've tried everything else. I will not give him anything other than this medication.
Good.
Go back to the pharmacy. The pharmacy goes back to the insurance companies. This is all stuff that you're not necessarily, you don't have to be faxing forms and putting this in. Most of the time, this is all pretty automated in the background, and your doctor usually handles that kind of stuff.
Yeah, let me just add, I think that's one of the reasons we tell people that when you go on a drug plan, don't worry about 2 years, 5 years down the road. Don't do that. Just get a plan that's fitting you right now, okay? You may need something in the future, but there are ways to add medication to formularies.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard you say that before. So I was one other quick question.
Go ahead, sir.
Supplement plan in Pennsylvania. I'm on a plan N now. If I would want to go to a G, I can do that as long as I pass
underwriting.
That's right.
Underwriting. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Because I was told I can go like to like, but not like to better.
Okay. Well, Pennsylvania, and last I checked, is not a birthday rule state, so that's not true. What you have to do is once you have, well, let me ask you this before I jump into it. It looks like you were born in 1956. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, good. And when did you start your Medicare?
October 2019.
Okay, been on a while. Okay, so here's what happens. If you do decide to move from even from a G to a G, into a G, or any movement you have in Pennsylvania, you are going to have to medically qualify to make that move. So we will have to ask you, the questions and check your meds. But it sounds like to me, if you're taking no meds right now, you're healthy, you can make that move. But yeah, Pennsylvania is not a birthday rule state. Those are the states where you can move like to like or like to less without underwriting, but you're going to have to go through it. And if it's something you're considering, Greg, it sounds like, have you been on this same supplemental plan since 2019?
No, this is you guys put me on a plan here the beginning of the year because my other plan was with ACE, and they're not writing any new policies, so I knew the pool of insured was going to drop.
Sure, and so that's good. That's good. All right, so you know the routine then. I would say every year, maybe 2 years at most, let us check it for you. We are happy to do that. We have a whole department that's what we have folks that take care of. So anytime you want to check it, you get a rate increase that looks like it's out of the ordinary, please call us, let us know. We'll do everything we can to make sure you're on the best price plan. Okay?
Those are my plans because MedicareSchool.com has got me on the straight and narrow.
All righty, Greg. Hey,
I have all faith with you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We appreciate the opportunity to serve as your broker too, Greg. Take care.
Take care, both of you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Bye. All right, we got Bart calling in from Alaska. All right, Bart, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Bart, I understand that you're from Alaska, and that it looks like your 65th birthday is approaching here in September, and that you're also, you have qualified for Native American health care. Is that all that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sounds good. Now let me ask you this: are you on disability by chance, or not?
Not, no,
Okay, very
no.
good. So we're just looking at Medicare starting then September of 2026. Okay, very good. I'm gonna have Evan, who's with me in the studio today, one of our top agents, sharp guy, address your situation because it looks like you're kind of curious how Medicare is going to work and how it's going to coordinate with your other options. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess so.
Okay, go ahead.
Gotcha.
Bart.
Yeah, Bart. Hello, Bart. And then you're not still working, are you?
I'm working still.
You are working still, and are you covered under your
Yes,
employer's health coverage?
Yes, I do have medical insurance with them too. Insurance, yes.
I assume at least 20 employees, right, in your company?
Probably more than that, yeah.
More than that. And then are you covering a spouse or anybody else? Just yourself?
Just myself. I work in hospitality, yeah.
Okay, good deal. So obviously you have options to go on to Medicare and utilize what's available to you through the Native American healthcare if you want to, or you can stay on the employer coverage. It's whichever is most cost effective for you. But ultimately, when you do decide to go into Medicare, whether that's at 65 or later on down the road, you will have to go on as the coverage that's offered to you through the Native American healthcare is not going to be considered creditable coverage by the federal government. So if you decide to go on that first, and let's say it was good coverage and you liked it, but then decided to change your mind later on and go on to Medicare a while thereafter, you'll be penalized for not picking up Medicare at 65. So you would be one of those things where you can potentially use it as a secondary to a Medicare if you wanted to, because you're in Alaska. There's no Advantage plans in the state of Alaska. So you can have either a supplement policy, like a Plan G or a Plan N, or whatever it is that they offer you, and how they coordinate with Medicare is going to vary depending on tribe to tribe and kind of what they do offer you specifically. So you might want to coordinate and see how much that benefit's going to be, but you would still have to go on to A and B of Medicare once you decide to leave the employer coverage.
Can I ask one quick question?
Sure.
Bart, when are you planning on stopping working? Have you decided yet?
Well, yeah, I was looking at, going, to my full retirement, which is maybe 67.
Okay, a couple more years then. Okay, that sounds good. All right.
Yeah.
So, and you can understand that Evan was saying that if you have a good group plan, you don't have to do anything. So how much does it cost you to be on your group plan?
Ted, I really don't. You mean for where I work at, or
I'm
the
sorry.
job? At my job?
Yeah, it's your job. Your group plan at work. What does
Employer
that
coverage,
cost you out of your pocket to be on the employer coverage?
Well, I really didn't ask them the question because, this is a union that I'm with and all that. So they pretty much cover whatever, but I haven't been told.
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, I should follow up and all because I've been with them over a year now. So,
Okay.
it's are we looking at a percentage of what they're covering?
Yeah, so you're going to want to compare ultimately how much your premiums are and how much the coverage is if you had to use it compared to what Medicare is. I did a couple of videos on our MedicareSchool.com YouTube channel. You can go down and see talking about when to take Medicare at 65 versus employer coverage. There's a couple of good videos I did on that specifically. But what's most important to you is you just want to compare the numbers. What's going to make sense either going on to Medicare or staying on employer, and who's going to cost you less money and who's going to be costing less money to use it if you had to go to doctors or hospitals. It's kind of the main comparison that you're going to want to make. And you can give us a call. We'd be happy to run through those numbers specifically with you whenever you get a chance to, look at your pay stubs and kind of see how much it is, that you would be spending so that we have a fair comparison. But you have a lot of options. You don't have to make a certain decision coming up, but it's making that the right decision is what we can help you take a look at and make that fair comparison.
I want to add this and then we'll let you go. But once you do decide to come off the group plan, then you are going to have to go on Medicare A and B for sure. Right. And then if you do qualify for Medicaid and your Native American health insurance, then they're going to be in that second payer position and they will coordinate those benefits. But what Evan and I are trying to say to you is that if you have a good group plan now, and let's say it's costing you less than a couple $100s a month, then you're in a good position if it's good insurance. Okay, so you don't have to do anything come September. But if it's costing you $300 or more a month, give us a call and we can look at your Medicare options.
Right.
Okay. Did all that make sense?
I do. Yeah, I do have one explanation of my benefits that I had from my insurance. So, if I can read to you some of the stuff, maybe they'll give you an idea. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Did you understand him?
Okay, deductible. Okay, my deductible year to year, you use 500, max 500, deductible.
Okay, that's
not
very
bad.
good.
That's really
yeah,
good.
That's really good.
That's super low.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
And then the PPO, you guys know all this and all that.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
See, the PPO deductible is 500 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Use and max.
yeah.
And did you say this is a union plan?
Yeah, this is through my union that I've under their insurance.
Good. I will tell you from my experience, union plans are usually pretty good while you're working. The union negotiate those benefits with with employers, and so you're probably in a very good position, sir. So I think I'd hang in there with that. Don't do anything with Medicare other than maybe A only, because with that low of a deductible, you do not have a health savings account. I can tell you that. So if you do anything in September, if you're going to keep working, I would suggest do A only, and that's it. Okay? And then when you get ready to retire, take A only. It's not going to hurt you. Won't hurt you a bit. And if you go to the hospital while you're still working, you give them your insurance from work and you give them your Medicare card both. Because Medicare may pay something, okay? And then when you get ready to retire in a couple of years, that's when you'll set up B and then decide what you want to do after that, and we'd be happy to help you with that, okay?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, all right. Well, Bart, thanks for calling in today. It was great to talk with you, and stay in touch if we can help you, sir.
Hey, I'll do that. If I have any questions, like I said, I'll give you guys a call at this number, 824-2004,
Yeah, that's the show number. That's the show number. Let me give you
phone number.
Let me give you your office number, okay?
Okay.
You ready? It's 800-782-6676. So 800-782-6676. And great talking today, Bart. Okay?
Hey, thank you for the little information that I need.
Yes, sir.
You're very
Good
welcome.
to talk to you. Have a good one. Thanks. Tomorrow, what we're going to be talking about is the two most common ways to get stuck with the Medicare IRMA. Some of you are considered to be high income by Medicare standards, and you're going to have these IRMAs. And so tomorrow's broadcast, we'll be talking about how it is that you can get stuck with those, how to avoid those. And so we'll spend our teaching time talking about IRMAs. Glad that you were part of the show today. Look forward to having you tomorrow. Again, call in tomorrow, 833-824-2004, and be a part of our show. Thanks so much, Evan.